Hey, how's it going? And welcome to the Guitar Effect. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Rob, and today we're going to be taking a look at the MP Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe pedal. But before we do that, I'll ask you to like and subscribe so you can be kept up to date with everything we're doing here at the Guitar Effect. So, this is the MP Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe. What is it? It is a all 100% true analog, handmade vibe pedal, but it's kind of more than that. So, how did this come about? Well, it's made by a guy from Serbia called Milos Poppovich. Does the MP Custom Effects. He's a one-man band in Serbia who makes really cool, interesting pedals and makes them in completely his own way. As you can see, it's not like anything you'd ever see. I came upon him on Henning Pauli's YouTube channel a good while ago and was really interested in these different enclosures, and also he allows you to design the graphics of every pedal that you buy off him. So you just send him a file and he prints, I presume screen prints or something, the file onto the pedal, which is really cool, which means like this is my Voodoo Vibe pedal. There's not another one out there that's going to look exactly like this, which I really like. I'm able to design it. So Milos, as I said, is in Serbia, and as well as building pedals, his job is he's a fighter pilot. So the guy's a fighter pilot and also plays guitar and builds his own guitar pedals and sells them. He's just unspeakably cooler than I will ever be. This is my second pedal to buy off him. Actually, I thought I lied. It's my second pedal of his. I didn't buy the first one off him. I bought it off a free ads website, which is how I decided to get another one off him. I was that impressed with his analog delay with modulation that I got, because it was so analog and it was so immediate and it was so warm and chewy and just mega analog goodness that I immediately went, right, I'm going to try out another one of these guys' pedals for that reason. So for that reason, I wanted to get something that was modulation based, because I find modulation really benefits from like being analog. I know it's a strange statement, but like analog choruses and analog phasers. I have a recording board on the floor here that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pedals maybe, and they're all analog. And as a result as well, incidentally, I can run them off a daisy chain with no noise. Shocker. So I wanted to get a modulation pedal, and I knew you could ask him to build things for you. So I knew this pedal existed, and I think it's always said phaser, chorus and tremolo with this selector knob here. And I thought, yeah, if I could get all three effects in one pedal, I'm never going to want to use them at the same time, so that could be really cool. So I got onto him, and I think maybe on the original it's tremolo, phaser and vibrato, I think is what it's called. And basically this is vibrato, it's not chorus really, because there's no dry signal that gets blended in. And so I ordered this off him, thinking that it would be a chorus sound, a phaser sound and a tremolo sound, and it's not really that. It's way more interesting than that actually, but as a result I did go and buy an analog chorus and an analog phaser, because this doesn't do those things. But what it is, and what's special about it is, this is one of these pedals you don't come across that often, where when I play it, it took me a really long time to warm to this because it's so unusual. So that when I play it, I immediately get inspired by every sound that comes out of it, and I make music as a result of it. And I kind of see this as what I would call as like a record signature pedal. I could, make a 4-song EP for sure, where this would feature heavily on every song. Simply by me playing it in the first place, I could probably write 4 songs around the sounds that come out of this, and it's different to regular modulation pedals in that way. It's really inspiring. It has some really interesting sounds, and you've got to search to get those sounds out of it, but I think it's a really good way of coming up with something that sounds maybe not new, but something that you mightn't have heard in a long time. And also it's very tweakable in an unusual way that allows you to generate stuff that feels new, and I really love that about it. So just to go through it really quickly, there's 3 knobs. The knobs are, this one is a bias control, this one is the speed of the modulation, and then this one is actually a volume boost, because obviously a lot of modulation pedals, particularly tremolo, suffer from, because of the oscillation of volume. In the case of tremolo, it feels like the volume gets dropped when you hit the switch and turn it on. So you can counteract that with this volume control, which means there's actually a preamp in this pedal as well, that when you dime that, you can push your amp into a little bit of gain, but you could never, there's no position on these knobs on this pedal where this pedal isn't in effect, you know. So if you ever did want to use it as a boost, it's going to be a very, very coloured boost. So yeah, that's the MP Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe. I suppose I should mention it runs on some ridiculously low milliampage at 9 volts input and output on this bent aluminium chassis, and with custom graphics, 3-way selector switch between tremolo, phaser and chorus, although he's labelled them incorrectly on this, but I kind of love that about it as well. I realised that as soon as I plugged it in. So yeah, the MP Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe. Let's take a listen. Okay, so I'm going to go through the effects in order of oddness, as in starting with the least odd and getting to the most odd. And the least odd effect on the Voodoo Vibe is the Tremolo Effect. There are 3 knobs, as we've discussed earlier, the bias, the rate and the volume. And obviously the rate is the rate. Turn it on. So you can see what will be kind of traditionally considered to be a very slow tremolo there. But the rate control on the pedal is really mad, so I can bring it right back to here and get really slow, or even ridiculously slow. Don't think I'd ever have use for a tremolo pedal that was that slow. So generally I tend to start around here. Okay, maybe never go past here. A little faster. So you can hear like it's just a really nice sounding tremolo. I'm going to just bring the rate back a little bit maybe. So yeah, okay, so the bias control sort of works better in different speed settings. So where I have it set at the moment is kind of the most natural sounding. It's not particularly pronounced. It's really interesting, this pedal, because you don't have a depth control, but you have the bias control, which changes the shape of the oscillation of the tremolo in a really interesting way. So that's kind of equally going up and down. But if I move that back to here, it's kind of it's a longer dip and rise. If I move it back to here, it's an even longer dip and rise, or softer tremolo. It starts to affect the volume. And as I bring it around to the other side, it gets more intense. Until as you start to pass 12 o'clock, it starts to actually drop off again. And you can actually see from the light here the intensity of tremolo. So you can see it gets more pronounced, which is really useful actually. You can see the speed. It's kind of at its most intense right in the middle. But then if I put the speed up, I think it's a really beautiful sounding tremolo pedal. So that's kind of explains the workings of tremolo. Okay, so I've moved to the chorus setting, and as I explained, I think Milos has labelled the phaser as chorus and the chorus is phaser, right? But this is the phaser setting. I've also switched to the dirty channel on the amp, and this is where it starts to get really Univibe-y. So, and I think it's in this particular effect where the bias control really comes into its own. So, it's almost like the emphasis of the dip and rise shifts from one side of the note to the other. So, it's on almost auto wash effect at certain settings, so I think it's better when you move it past, and you can see the light getting again. It's really intense in the center, but then when you move it past, it starts to get a bit more pleasant. Again, you can also use the volume. Starts to get quite Univibe there. And again, I can make it even softer. So, the other thing then is a rate, obviously. I don't think this works particularly well fast, so. It sort of just becomes kind of comedy. It's better with the rate back here as a kind of ambient effect. So the other thing then is obviously Vibe works well with fuzz, or at least it should do. So here is the fuzz tone. Just listening to that there, I kind of thought it was interesting how this pedal is so analog and so unpredictable and sort of individual that pairing it with different things really dramatically affects it. Like, you know, in clean settings, the bias sounds way better over here on the kind of, I suppose, emphasis on the downside of the wave, whereas over here the emphasis kind of on the upside of the wave, or it's a different shape. I don't even know how to describe what the difference is, but I think it's really cool about pedals like this is that they're really unpredictable, and you find new tones and new sounds that can be really inspirational for you to write music with. And I just found there that as I turned on that fuzz, that it really takes on a complete personality of its own, and also the fuzz is just making random noise. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe effect. Okay, so the last effect then is the chorus effect, which is actually labeled phaser on the pedals, which is confusing. So if I put all the controls in the middle, you can hear what it actually is a pitch vibrato. And I would be relatively certain that it's the same circuit that's in the modulation side of the modulus delay from Milos Poppovich, which I also have on the floor, which incidentally sounds like this. I'm going to turn this off for a sec. Let's turn up the modulation a little bit. You can really hear the pitch vibrato that's happening there in that modulated delay. So I kind of think this is a similar sort of effect. But again, it has that pulsing thing which a vibrato doesn't seem to have. Now I reckon you could almost certainly combine that with, say you double track the guitar and put this on one side, it would absolutely sound like a chorus. It's also just a really nice subtle effect there to give like texture to a part. Really nice, but then you can also make it more pronounced, bring the rate up to something like this, and get the kind of thing I got in the beginning of the track. So yeah, so you get into sort of a, I wouldn't call it a rotary effect because it's way more harsh and pronounced than a rotary, but sorry. I really like that. I'm just going to put a bit of drive on there. It sort of takes on this, in this instance, this vintage record, like I don't know, a record player that's not playing at full speed or something like that, and it gets this really cool tone. I think it's really useful, and again, it's really inspiring. Like, it's going to immediately, personally, make me go do something with that idea I had there. And obviously then I can also sort of there, a bit more drive. G'day. Not a rotary effect, because it's not a rotary effect. And in fact, I have an old, it's like 10 years old, maybe older, Digitech EX7 Expression Factory, which has the best rotary simulation I've ever heard on it. It sounds absolutely phenomenal, and it's a treadle based pedal for doing slow and fast speeds. Absolutely brilliant. Really unreliable, not built particularly well, but if you want a rotary sound, the rotary sound and the space station incidentally out of that pedal are absolutely phenomenal. But back to the Voodoo Vibe, it I think that it's chorus effect put up high as a fast pitch vibrato can. Maybe if I change to the dirty channel on the amp as well. Yep. It's not rotary, but it does give a similar sort of feel or vibe. It's way more pronounced and harsher. And I think it can be used to great effect to make a part stick out if you choose the right part and choose the right setting on this pedal. So yeah, that's kind of what it does. It's like a really individual, I'm not even sure whether every one of these is going to sound the same because they're so handmade, but it took me a long time to come around to this pedal. But I'm really happy that I did, because I kind of feel that there's a lot of ideas that it's going to bring out of me as a guitar player in an originals band, and trying to do stuff that sounds interesting. So yeah, that's the tremolo, the phaser or Univibe, and the chorus setting off the MP Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe. So there you have it. That is the Milos Poppovich Custom Effects Voodoo Vibe pedal. A really, really unusual and really, don't know if authentic is the right word, but very, very inspiring modulation pedal that can get you some sounds that will really pull songs out of you, I think, as a guitar player. I will list all of Milos's contact details where you can contact him to inquire about his pedals, and also his Reverb page where you can go and check out pedals that he has already for sale. He's a really cool guy. I couldn't recommend dealing with Milos more. He knows his stuff and is really pleasant and quite unique chap that is really a nice guy to interact with. So yeah, check it out. Check Milos out. Check the Voodoo Vibe and the Modulus analog delay, I might add. Check that out too. Okay, thanks. I've been Rob. You've been watching The Guitar Effect, and I will see you soon.